I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Emmanuel.
According to the wise words of Benjamin Franklin, he once said that half the truth is often a great lie. And I agree with him because this can lead to manipulating people. So I'll explain while I do my presentation. So there's two basic ways of income. There's two basic ways of calculating income inequality. There's a broad way, which is basically dividing what men overall make and what women overall make. And then there's a more detailed way which takes into account like occupation, hours worked, flexibility, personality traits. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. We will be covering occupational choices, hours worked, and personality traits between men and women. So, according to a study done by Georgetown University in 2015, Georgetown University is a renowned university. Men overrepresent women in the top 10 highest paying college majors, 9 out of 10. And women overrepresent men in the lowest paying college majors, 9 out of 10 times. So yeah, obviously that affects income. Then we have higher risk jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2015, they made a study. On deaths and fatalities in the workplace, and men consist of 90% of all deaths in the workplace. And this is not only a one-time thing. This is on a yearly basis. From 2011 to 2015, men consisted of 92.5% of all death-related fatalities in the workplace. So, yeah, you get higher-paying jobs, but it comes in a risk, which is death. So, going to the next slide, hours worked. According to the American Sociological Review, men tend to work more overtime than women. 21% of men were found to work more than 50 hours a week, while women were found to work, 7% of women were found to work 50 plus hours a week. And obviously this affects income in a very grave way. The subpoint number 2 is childbearing. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, a study done by Henrik Cleveland, who is an economist for Princeton University, he found that 80% of the whole wage gap is due to childbearing. So yeah, women were found to have pretty much the same income as their men counterparts until they have their first child. So when mothers from their 20s to their mid-30s were found to experience a big wage gap, but it's due to having kids. So I mean, we can argue that maybe it's unfair, but we can talk about it later on. I'm just going to be focusing on what's happening. So next slide, personality traits, which is this is a very important one, because this one is never taken into account when calculating the wage gap. It's agreeableness and conscientiousness. According to the University of Sheffield, a study led by Ana Nuevo Chiquero, which has a PhD in economics, made a study in 2014, and she found out that workers, men and women, with higher agreeableness and higher conscientiousness personality traits tend to have a lower income than their other co-workers. It was also found that even though there's male workers that are high in agreeableness and conscientiousness, women tend to be more agreeable and more conscientious. And this affects, this helps these people, for example, when they're doing teamwork, but it was found that it has 3 negative outcomes, I guess. So number one, these people, not these people, they tend to gravitate towards lower paid occupations. Number two, they tend to help others, but in the end, it affects their individual productivity. Which means, for example, how does it affect their individual productivity? So you're doing this job, right? And then a coworker comes and tells you hey, I need help with this job. Can you help me out? And you, since you're so agreeable, you find a hard time saying no to people. So you end up saying, yes, I can help you out. So now you have your job, plus you're doing the job of this other person. You're not getting paid extra, and your individual productivity is affected. And number three is bargaining for wages. Highly agreeable people tend to have a hard time bargaining for higher wages because they don't like conflict. And since they don't like conflict, they avoid it. And when you're bargaining for wages, you have to have conflict, which is not conflict, it's just confronting someone, and this someone is your boss. So yes, income inequality is a very complicated thing. I found out it's very tricky to calculate. For example, it doesn't have to do with discrimination. It has to do with a lot, like career choices, tendencies, hours worked, flexibility, personality traits, etc. So yeah, I started out with Benjamin Franklin and how he says half the truth is often a great lie. And this is very dear to my heart because it's something that we should strive to achieve, to always look for truth and always talk truth. And it's ultimately the only way that we're going to be progressive. It's the only way that we're going to progress as a society. So